Hello, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Michael Jacoby, executive producer of Jazz on the Plaza. My Lord, it seems like we haven't done this show for a little while. Apparently there's something going around, and we're making our way through it. But we are delighted to have an old friend of mine and an old friend of Jazz, Jared Miller. How are you, buddy? I'll give you a fist bump.
I'm doing well, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Now, do you own Lexus, or is it just the dealership?
Well, I own two Lexus, but zero dealerships.
You are the vice president and general manager of Lexus of Stevens Creek.
That's correct.
Strange times?
It has. We've ran the gamut, as they say, from full closures to online-only sales to outdoor-only sales to now social distance indoor sales.
How, as a retailer, a large retailer, the challenges, it's not like you can come to terms with them because they're going to change every 3 days.
Yeah, it's been a lot of audibles and rolling with the punches, as they say. But one of the biggest items that we've had to navigate is really just dealing with the psychology of the employees and making sure that they, as well as our guests, feel comfortable coming into the dealership and transacting and working, but at the same time being safe.
Well, and that's a marvelous compliment on not only on Lexus, but on your dealership, and having known you for a long time and worked with you, is that concern about employees trickles down to the customer as well.
Absolutely. So we started implementing many of the safety protocols well before they became safety protocols, from masks to shields to social distancing, hand sanitizers, cleaning of the dealerships. I mean, you name it. We've got a whole manual on our internal processes of how we handle and operate through COVID.
Well, a year ago, if someone said invest in Clorox and plastic, you probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, not to the same extent I would have jumped on now.
I'm still trying to find toilet paper. I mean, it's amazing the rushes that go on.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about your background. How long you've been? Your group is owned by, and if you're a race fan, you know the name Roger Penske. Owned by the Penske Group, right?
That's correct. We're part of the family of Penske Motor Group dealerships. Okay. So family owned by Greg Penske, Roger Penske's son.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been.
Now, was Greg a driver as well?
So he was never a professional driver. His father, Roger, was. But I think just growing up at the tracks and being exposed to that, you don't notice it until you go karting with Greg, and then you realize how quick he is. So he's got it in the blood for sure.
Yeah. So how long you been with him?
So I've been at this dealership since 2010. So my family and I moved up from Southern California to Northern California for this opportunity. And then prior to that, I was with the group since 2007 at an Audi dealership that we owned down in Los Angeles.
So 10 years at Lexus of Stevens Creek. Probably your life hasn't changed that much in 10 years, or would there be anything that's a little different?
I like to joke. I think I was 29 years old with a fiance.
Yes.
When we moved up here to the Los Gatos community, and then.
And how did that work out?
Yeah. So happily married and 2 kids, and now I've got an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy to think of what 10 years has done for us.
Well, as a parent, and mercifully for me, my children are out of the house, particularly with the times we're going through these days. But boy, as if there aren't enough challenges in life and at work and at parents working, now they've had to add a new appetizer to their plate that's already full, and that is teaching at home.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle. Fortunately, my wife is able to do that with my children, and she did that for the remainder of the school year last year. But trying to keep attention of children on Zoom and worksheets, with a kindergartner and second grader was a challenge. So I feel for all the parents that are out there doing that. And again, toughest job, I would say. I've got tough days at the office, but I don't think any job can beat that of being a parent.
Absolutely not.
Or a teacher, for that matter.
Yeah. Having a 6 and 8-year-old, I would imagine the challenge when you're talking to 4-year-olds and the masks and why mommy and daddy have to wear masks and what's going on with school. Particular challenge at that age, or is it easier to deal with a 4th grader than the 2nd grader or 3rd grader?
That's a good question. I haven't thought of it that way. I think both kids right out of the gate, and I'm not sure if it was us as parents, if it was the school and what they were learning on the Zooms, if it was just what they're absorbing through the media, but it was immediate, and their kind of responsibility and scare, if you will, or concern. But with my kids, they were really diligent about wearing masks and anytime we left the house, they're grabbing their masks. So, and I think part of that came from the fact that they didn't leave their house for the better part of 2 months. So,
and so many young kids are internet savvy.
Yes.
So, and sadly, so many aren't, and that is such a huge issue with not only the parents having to stay home with children, but if you don't have the internet, they can't really learn.
Sure.
But your kids, like my kids at that age, were pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they went from never having used Zoom to my daughter knowing all the functions of how to change her background and mute and unmute herself on Zoom at 5 yeyears old at the time and in kindergarten was pretty impressive.
Talk a little bit about. First of all, I want to say here publicly is Lexus of Stevens Creek has been there for Jazz on the Plaza, what, the last 12 years or something?
Yeah, I think at least that long.
Yeah, and it is, and much to their credit, they have stayed with us as a title sponsor during these troubled times as we're doing Jazz off the Plaza. So we do thank you for that because, I spend Wednesday nights in the park just trying to get somebody to talk to me. It's just, I am desperately in need of adoration, and it's not working out. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about this extraordinary circumstances we're in, and particularly the auto industry. Tell me, did it come out of left field to you guys? It was there, or do you guys have a department that comes up with these, okay, what if this catastrophe happened? How would we handle it? How would we prepare?
This one was just, I think for everybody, it was a bit of a shock, but it was crazy at how fast it came on. I remember mid-February, some initial conversations regarding this thing called COVID, but it's only in China. And then we actually had a board meeting with our group down in Los Angeles just before right around the end of February. And it's when it started getting a bit more real. And so timing was just in alignment with us having that meeting. So everybody in one room at one time, combined with the news, and we started putting contingency plans together at that moment. So we were, quite frankly, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ahead of the curve. And like I said, that's when we started implementing some of the masks and the social distancing before it became mandated and before the closure. But I think it was either March 17th or March 18th, getting the call that we were shutting down. Now, mind you, this is a building and a facility that's shuts down for Christmas Day and Thanksgiving Day, and that's about it. So to have to close that up and then not knowing, is it for a week, is it for a month, how long is it, that uncertainty. But like everything, I think it's made us reinvent many aspects of our business, and I think for the good. So a lot of people are calling it getting back to the new norm, and we're saying, the new better is kind of our line.
And we're going to take a break, but when we get back, I want to talk about you guys, again, alluding to your kindness with Jazz on the Plaza, but you guys do so much charity stuff, and I want to talk a little bit about that and some of the challenges. You're watching Talk of the Town. I'm Mike Jacoby, and we'll be back in just a second. Hi, Michael Jacoby here, executive producer of Jazz on the Plaza, with an idea about how you can save money and help keep jazz alive. Now, we're delighted this summer to be presenting Jazz Off the Plaza, which is our streaming series coming to you on Wednesdays. However, we want to come back, and we want Jazz on the Plaza to be part of your future and certainly part of our future. To that end, our annual Jazz card is for sale. It's a $100 donation, $700 worth of free offers. This is a crazy good deal, and as I say, it helps keep jazz alive. So check it out at jazzontheplaza.com, or you can buy a card at the Los Gatos Roasting Company. Until then, keep your chin up, stay safe, and think jazz. Welcome back to Talk of the Town. I'm Michael Jacoby, executive producer of Jazz on the Plaza. With us this week, delighted to have an old friend, Jared Miller, and continuing our conversation about the auto industry. Jared, of course, being the general manager and vice president of Lexus of Stevens Creek. You were saying when we were off camera, one of the major changes is online sales.
Yeah, so the purchase experience for most of automotive has been pretty stagnant for many years. We've got internet sales, but it's never been a true online process, and a lot of that is actually based off of old DMV regulations and regulatory red tape, as they say.
Well, and the mindset of you can't kick a tire on a computer, and
Yeah.
that is ingrained in your system from when you were a kid. Oh, son, you better go out and kick those tires.
Yeah, so the days of Amazon or Uber and Netflix and all the other, people are getting more and more comfortable making purchases online. And so we're seeing definitely more willingness for people to do that, especially if they know exactly what they want. Websites now are so immersive in what they have, but now we actually have the ability to do most of that. So you can go to our website, lexusstevenscreek.com. You can go on our express store and you can search the car, find exact payments, whether you're leasing, financing, paying cash, right down to the penny. And then if you want, we can deliver it right to your driveway, and we can even contract remotely. So we have that ability now, which didn't exist 4 months ago. So that's when I say the new better, that's what we're getting into. So we're just trying to innovate. And fortunately, this pushed not only the automotive dealership, but it pushed some of the DMV and some of the regulatory bodies and the finance companies to innovate as well. So it's very cool to see.
Yeah, as you say, it's a new world, you adapt. However, part of this new world is going to be there's a lot of places are going to close. A lot of. We just lost. I know you live in Los Gatos. We just lost Joseph Banks.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I was over there today. They were packing up, and I said, "Is this because the internet sales are going so well?" He goes, "No," and they've closed all of them. They closed 700 stores.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance of keeping the community safe, but also recognizing those tough stories. Lots of restaurants locally that are going out of business. The other day, I was at the dry cleaner because I do still wear dress clothes, and he's struggling, and seeing that because again, not as many people are going to work, so not as much demand for dry cleaning, and those are the real hardships that are happening right now.
Well, I told you earlier, I own a marketing firm because we used to work together, and my 3 biggest clients are an outdoor jazz series, restaurants, and a movie theater. Okay. And I'm thinking about getting a minor league baseball team and a hotel.
Perfect.
This is tough. Talking about the online stuff, is it analogous that there will always, I hope, but there will always be people that want hardcover books, that want to go to a library and check out a book? There'll be always people that want to try on a suit. Same kind of situation in your business.
I think so. There was a lot of talk 10 years ago that by 2020, it would all be online and the brick and mortar was going to be dead for automotive. And clearly, here we are, and that hasn't happened.
And it's a rite of passage with parents taking a young person to a dealership, and there's a charm in it.
It's the second largest purchase that you're going to make in life, and most people want to touch, feel, smell that beforehand, which I get. So we really focus on an omni-channel approach. So whether you start the process at the dealership, then you want to go home and do some research, re-engage online, or whether you want to start that journey online and then transition to coming into the dealership once you've narrowed down selections, we handle it all and we're flexible. So I think that's the real balance that's going to be the winning recipe for the future. And studies and statistics, a lot of industry stats say that more people are becoming comfortable with the online purchase, but I still think that...
What percentage of your business?
I would say truly online without any exposure to the dealership is very small. Maybe even at the height of COVID, maybe 20% of normal business.
But of that 20%, I would bet 80% of them come in at some point to look at the product.
Yeah, well, that's
and then decide to go online and do it.
And that's the hard part to not know. We don't know if they were ever at the dealership physically. But again, as more people become more comfortable with that online purchase experience, I think it depends on, is it more of a commodity type of vehicle purchase or is it more of a reward luxury purchase? And I think that could play in. But with the vehicles being complex, making sure that it's the right options, the right colors, the right feel, and there's a lot of great cars out there. So that becomes important.
And it's time like this that brand means so much.
Absolutely.
Is that obviously Lexus of Stevens Creek has a great brand, but if a Lexus doesn't have a good brand, that cuts you off at the knees.
And we're fortunate. I mean, when
they did okay, they've done okay for themselves.
When times get tough, we tend to do very very well in that regard with automotive. That is, because Lexus is viewed, we've got the best resale value, the lowest cost of ownership, the best reliability in the industry. And so when people are making financial decisions, even though it's a luxury purchase, they want to make sure that they're making a smart and informed purchase. And that's when you'll see a lot of people going from some of the other luxury brands back to Lexus because of that heritage and what it represents.
Can you do a test drive online? I know you can't do it online, but I mean, can you set up a test drive? Then you obviously have to come to the dealership.
Yeah, so you can coordinate a test drive online.
It'd be kind of
You
cool
can
if you
chat
had
with us. Yeah.
a little video online.
You can do that. We can Zoom, we can FaceTime, we can Skype, whatever you have. And there are some companies doing some remote test drives, which is essentially just a camera in the car with somebody talking about it. Yeah, it's not the same as the real thing. But when people come in, that's, again, one of the changes. Now you can test drive without somebody in the car, so the salesperson doesn't go with you. We trust you with the keys to the car.
Oh, really?
Allow you to go experience it by yourself. So, and that's actually been well received. A lot of people like that independence to not have somebody talking in their ear and get to experience the car themselves.
Another part of your dealership that over the years, since I've been involved with you guys, which actually was probably a little after you started, is the fact that you guys gave so much back to the community, and that has always been important to you. It's a little harder to do now because you guys have always been very much like jazz and Las Gas Music and Arts is, giving back to young musicians and stuff. It's kind of tough to work with young people these days.
It's been extremely tough, but we're still trying to do everything we can to support the community. I mean, right now, it's probably arguably the most need that the Valley's seen. But it is difficult, but we feel that our commitment to the community is one of our pillars, and that's just one of the things that we won't waver on. So we're happy to continue our support for Los Gatos Music and the Arts.
Well, yeah, and we
Plaza.
appreciate that. But you, over the years, things that you would continue to do, but you can't do right now.
Yeah, we do a lot with high school students and youths. So we have a partnership program with local high schools where sports teams can come and actually volunteer at our service center washing cars instead of doing the corner car wash. We pay them a lot more than you'd get just washing cars on a corner. So that one clearly is shut down right now. And then we'd normally be gearing up for our volunteer fair. So we normally have about 1,000 to 1,500 high school and middle school students come to our facility. We invite 50 nonprofits, and it's essentially a job fair for nonprofits. And with no large gatherings, clearly that won't be taking part in September.
And the holidays, was it the sweater or the?
Oh, so we do a jacket drive. And yes, and a toy drive. That's in partnership with the Santa Clara Rotary Club. And that's probably one of my favorite events because the kids come to the dealership and they get to get a bag of presents, and they've evolved it to they get to shop. So we have tables set up with presents for mom and dad or their brother and sister, and so they get to get something and start learning the act of giving as well as receiving. So it's a really heartwarming experience.
How supportive has corporate been?
Oh,
I mean,
tremendously.
We all laugh about budgets. Go, how much they asking for this time?
Yeah.
But they have been, you've mentioned it to me on separate occasions, they have been stepping and solid guys.
Yeah, we've got a saying, and there's only one decision, that's the right decision. Yeah. So the budgets, when we're not operating at our full capacity, being shut down in sales, that was a huge blow. But we continued to pay our employees during that time period while they were out, and we got through that with their families. And then we kept as much giving as going as possible too.
Yeah, that's neat. Just got a couple of minutes left. What do you, obviously you don't have a crystal ball, nothing in stone, but what do you see happening when, do you see when there is a vaccine, God willing, will there be a permanent change or will things be coming back? And I say this because I had a buddy of mine on my radio show who owned a bar, sports bar in New York. Is my favorite sports bar in the country. It's called Foley's, and he had to shut down. And he said to me, he says, I don't think the bar scene will ever come back, which I disagree. I think there'll always be millennials, and if somebody will always be turning 21. If
Daytona Beach was proof.
That's exactly.
That's a bad example, but unfortunately, I think like everything, there will be some learnings. I think every business is going to get smarter about how they handle it. I think more of an online presence we're hyper-focused on cutting friction out in the process, so just making it as smooth and easy as possible for the consumer. And so I think you'll see those things last. But as far as, at what point in time, but I'm pretty confident the bars and the normal life as we know it, our memories do get pretty short when it comes to those things.
If all the bars close, we're in real trouble.
Yeah.
Well, we're already in the middle of the baseball season without fans, facing football, knock on wood, if it happens, without fans. So
it's just great to see sports back, though.
Yeah, and people, and there are the doom and gloom folks who say, why are we doing sports? We're doing sports because we need them.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, it's a fundamental unifier for the communities, and we're very eager. There's some hope of Little League getting back together in the next couple of weeks, but definitely not the normal season with games and dugouts.
Your son and daughter playing Little League?
My son plays Little League and my daughter plays softball. So yeah, but trying to get the kids back exposed to sports, and as you know, I coach in those and volunteer my time. So it's really a big part of our lives, and I think that's a piece that our community's been missing through this. So once it's safe, but we're very eager to get back into that.
Well, let's close because you deserve it on a painfully commercial note. What's the website? People want to find out more.
LexusStevensCreek.com.
And you can buy a car online.
Absolutely.
How good is that? Jared, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you.
Human contact. What a change.
Hand sanitizer.
I'm sure some he'll call up and they shook hands, but that's all right. Certainly, if you're going to raise your hands in applause for all that these folks do, you should do it, and we do thank them from the bottom of our hearts and from Jazz on the Plaza, and hopefully we'll all be together next summer.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's Talk of the Town. Until next time, I'm Jacoby. I'll see you soon.